If he keeps his upward trend, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, usually offensive linemen do, unless your name is Jackson Kirkland.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Dude, I forgot about him.
Yeah, that's me. Welcome to another episode of Boom or Bust, the draft show. Max Chadwick alongside Nick Merriam and Donny Clemons. This video, guys, I'm going to say it right now. This might be the most excited I've ever been for a video. This is going to be so much fun. So we're doing a mock draft, all right, so which all of you love. It's consistently our highest performing videos. But we're doing a little spin on a mock draft. So everyone knows the NFL makes you go into the draft, have to have at least 3 years out of high school to enter the NFL draft. You cannot be a true freshman, cannot be a true sophomore. The NBA is different. You can be a freshman, you can be a sophomore, whatever you want, and still enter that draft. So we're going to say, you know what, let's adopt the NBA's principles. And let's say, you know what, if you played 1 year of college football, you are eligible for the NFL draft. So we're doing a full first-round draft with everybody eligible.
Every college football player, not high school. So like guys like Travis Hunter won't be in this, but guys from college who has played at least 1 year are in this.
Exactly. Yes. So basically anyone who's eligible for the 2022 draft, anyone who's eligible for the 2023 draft, anyone who's eligible for the 2024 draft, they're all eligible in this mock draft, a full first round. What we would do, obviously, because we don't, who knows about 2024, what NFL teams think. So we don't have no sources on any of these guys.
No.
But please like and subscribe to the channel. I should have said below too, the same order for the 2022 draft too. Same order as the 2022 draft stands right now. But like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Be sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Boom or Bust Draft. And TikTok has been doing really well. A lot of people, it's hilarious that a lot of people think we're stealing Donnie's content because he's posting on our TikTok and they're literally tagging at Pick and Spreads. They're literally stealing your content, man. Look at this. And like,
dude, I think like they're stealing like your voice or something.
They're and like, they're going viral off of Donnie's stuff. What is this? And I'm like, dude, he's literally posting for us.
Pick and Spreads. I just want to let you know, I think these guys are stealing your content.
Yeah, it's
really that's really interesting.
Which is, you know what? I appreciate you guys watching this right now because obviously those people do not watch our videos. But please subscribe to the YouTube, like this channel, and check us out on TikTok, and check us all out at Nichols Sports on Twitter, at Pick and Spreads, at Chad_Maxwick, anywhere you get your podcast as well. Check out the merch store. All right, let's get to this mock draft because I cannot freaking wait. Number 1 pick, Nick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who are they taking in this all-college mock draft?
This is a great video. We got a lot of good takes for you coming here. So obviously Jacksonville's up. I'm going to give him a guy that really garnered a lot of interest late in the season because he produced so much. He's been compared to a lot to guys in this draft at a position of value. I'm of course talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Pump fake you there with Will Anderson a little bit because I think a lot of people would say that that's the best non-quarterback in this upcoming draft class. I am going to be perhaps on an island, and then I believe JSN is the number 1 non-quarterback in this upcoming draft class. When I watch Jackson Smith-Njigba, I see everything. I see twitched up ability to get separation off of his routes, catching the ball, shiftiness, little bit of strength after the catch, definitely speed, can get open downfield. Had some concentration drops, but really had some very impressive body control, hands catches as well throughout the year. To me, was the best wide receiver in an offense that had Garrett Wilson, had Chris Olave. To me, I think you're shooting here for a guy that is as high of a floor at a position of value as we've seen anyone coming out. Probably there's going to be a debate, I think, between him and Jamar Chase. Like, who is a better receiver prospect? Right now, I can't, say that he would be a higher grade for me than Jamar Chase. I haven't really delved into the film. I don't know how he's going to play next year, but I think it's going to be close. I really do believe that he would be my number 1 non-QB going in this draft if I had a list today. And for Jacksonville, whether you believe Will Anderson is number 1 player that's not a quarterback in this draft or not, if they are forcing a tackle in this year's draft class over an edge players, maybe 2 edge players that a lot of people think are better prospects than the tackles, then I think it is very safe to say, even if you think Will Anderson is a better prospect than Jackson Smith-Njigba in a team that really needs to get talent around Trevor Lawrence, make that offense better, that they should force the wide receiver position and go for a guy that I think has the ability to really be that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase Devontae Adams, #1 type receiver, and completely elevate your offense, especially with a guy like Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball.
Dude, can you imagine if Jackson Smith-Njigba was on the Jaguars
It would be awesome.
with Trevor Lawrence? That would be
I love
sick.
that pick, especially because like we talk about all the time, like we don't love the tackles or the receivers enough in this draft to take one at 1. If we did like any of them enough, we would take him at 1 over Aidan Hutchinson, even though we all think Aidan Hutchinson is the best player because you want to build around Trevor Lawrence.
And I think last year, I mean, Penei Sewell definitely goes #1.
Oh,
Yep.
Jamar Chase definitely goes #1. Kyle Pitts goes #1.
Pitts goes #1 in this draft.
Like,
yes.
They need offensive help. That's why this discussion is happening. That's why you see people mocking Ekwonu, Neal, sometimes Charles Cross. Rarely I would do it, but to the Jaguars at 1. It's because how important we've seen what happened with Sam Darnold. We've seen quarterbacks like the Giants now are doing the stance with Daniel Jones because they never got him an O-line. You need to have stuff around the quarterback. None of us are denying that. Even when we mock Aidan Hutchinson to the Jags, I guarantee you all of us would go in the next 6 picks, probably try to draft offensive players. It's so important that you get those pieces because if you fail and the guy's not playing well and you can point to all these issues on the offense as to why he doesn't, then you're stuck in a position where it's like, well, this guy's trying to get like $25 to $35 million out of us, and we really don't know if we should pay him or not. You know? So
exactly.
Have to.
Exactly.
I love that. All right, this video is so much fun. All right, the #2 pick, the Detroit Lions. They need a quarterback, and we kept talking about all this time about, the 2022 draft is just not good enough quarterback. Well, guess what? We got the 2023 guys and a 2024 guy. I'm taking a 2024 guy. I'm calling my shot right now. Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. I put Oklahoma originally. I forgot he transferred to USC. But yeah, the quarterback from USC. I mean, we saw him in Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. He's going to Lincoln Riley in Southern Cal right now. Just the tools are just fantastic, man. He's a terrific runner, got a cannon of an arm. He might not be the best quarterback in college football next year. I think we're going to get into some other guys who might have a case, but he's younger than those guys. And he was so good as a true freshman.
Breakout age.
Exactly. Spencer Rattler, who we all had as QB1, or not Donnie, but most of us had as QB1. They benched him, even though Rattler I think was playing fine. Like I think it was overblown how bad Spencer Rattler was. He was playing fine, but Lincoln Riley said, "Dude, we have a freaking stud who's sitting on the sideline holding a clipboard right now. We got to get this guy in." And the season was changed for Oklahoma because of it. So Caleb Williams, get him in Detroit, man. I would love that. I know PJ, the Lions, he would love that as well. So Caleb Williams to the Detroit Lions, #2.
Just a kid from DC.
Yep.
Dude, this video was so much fun. Oh my god. Okay, so I have the Texans at 3. They also need a quarterback. Davis Mills is not the answer, unfortunately. And when you have the ability to get a guy for the next 3 drafts, unfortunately for Davis Mills, there's going to be a lot of good quarterbacks. So I'm going to take the best quarterback of the 2022 NFL draft. No, it is not Bryce Young. It is CJ Stroud.
Oh, 2023.
Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, 2023. I'm taking the best quarterback from the 2023 draft, not the Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young. CJ Stroud, the quarterback for Ohio State. Yes, you can argue that his wide receiver core maybe was the best we have ever seen. I understand that. Like Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who might be on the same level as a guy like Jamar Chase. Like, I understand that. But he's just so. I think his tools are better than Bryce Young. I think his arm is stronger. I think he can get. Yes, he may not be as good of a runner as Bryce Young. He may not have the IQ and ability to read the defense like Bryce Young. But that's something you can learn over time. I feel like it happened with Josh Allen. It happened with Patrick Mahomes. I think C.J. Stroud, as of right now, is the best quarterback in the 2023 draft, and I believe next year with just Jackson Smith-Njigba. And, I mean, maybe I'm in love with Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. I think he's sick. I think he's going to be so sick next year. He won't be better than Njigba most likely, but he's still going to be sick. I think with those guys, and Ohio State's offensive line is always good. Like, the sky's the limit for him, and that Ohio State team has a chance to win the Natty possibly.
Yep.
Super excited for next year. We haven't had we've had good QB classes, but I don't think we've had a legitimate discussion since maybe Goff, Wentz, and Mariota and Winston about who between 2 top QBs who are clearly 1-2 in that draft, who is going to be QB1. I think there's going to be a really fun young Stroud discussion there as to who will be the top quarterback off the board. Perhaps early on looking at that, their Young might be the higher ceiling, lower floor Stroud kind of more in the middle, in my opinion, at this point. But there's a discussion there. So the Jets are up at 4, and then Will Anderson comes here. So this is this is what happens when I leave him to get picked for the New York team that also would like more offensive weapons. But at this point on the board, there's a lot of edge players. And look, the guy. By the way, we're going to list him as an edge. He's more, he's being put on linebacker lists for the early All-American teams, and it's just like, he's not a linebacker. Like, let's get this confusion stuff out of here. Like, we're still doing this. Like, he is an edge rusher. Like, this guy lines up as an edge. They're going to put his hand in the dirt more in Alabama when he plays full 3 downs in his upcoming seasons. Obviously, was very productive last year. I think maybe that production was a little bit over-exaggerated just based on the way that defense was. It was a good, they have talent up front. He was given a few of, easy lanes to get the quarterbacks to rack up sacks, but it's clear from an athleticism perspective, from production outside of that, he was, very good. And it's obviously early, but there would be discussions if you were coming to the draft this year about who was better, him or Aidan Hutchinson. And with a guy that's younger, obviously going into next year, it's likely he gets better. He's a better edge prospect at this point, and the Jets, have a need. Let's go get the next best non-quarterback on my list.
So Donnie mentioned this earlier. Nick, you talked about it a little bit too. I'm taking for the Giants here at number 5. I'm taking Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama, who I love, man. Like, he is, to me, QB1 next year's draft. I'm just putting that out there right now. But I mean, you saw like Trevor Lawrence, where obviously the arm strength, the size, the mobility, that was great. Bryce Young is not as big as Trevor Lawrence, but I think he's got a terrific arm. And he's also the thing about he does have a really good arm. The thing about Trevor Lawrence that we talked about all the time that was kind of underrated was how good of a mental processor he was and how good he was at manipulating the pocket. Trevor Lawrence was. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Bryce Young does that at a extremely high level, very, very high level. Like, to me, like, he was playing kind of like how Mac Jones did, except he's got better tools than Mac Jones. And you took Mac Jones with better tools, dude. Mac Jones is the best quarterback in college football. And we're like, yeah, the tools, that's why he's getting pushed down a little bit. You get really good tools, you get Bryce Young. Bryce Young was a Heisman Trophy winner. I think he was the best quarterback in college football last year. I am so stoked to get him at number 5 to the Giants, who they do need a quarterback. I think Daniel Jones is a little bit underrated, but he's definitely not the franchise guy.
He's not good.
He's not good, but he's a little underrated. I will say that. But Bryce Young, I think, is just a franchise quarterback, and at number 5, he's a steal here for the Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Panthers. Let's have a nice little chat for a second.
I don't think this is crazy, by the way. Like, I don't know why people freak out.
To us, it's not crazy, but to everybody,
I don't know why people think it is.
Because people care about
Sam
production.
Darnold, Cam Newton.
I understand that. Okay, here's the thing. Panthers. Quinn Ewers. You ever heard of him? Probably not, because he's only played about 3 snaps in college. And didn't throw the ball once, but those handoffs were the best I've ever seen. But we can discuss that at another time. Quinn Ewers, listen, he's never thrown a college football, but he is really good. Mm-hmm. And I know you're going to look at me like, are you out of your mind? And yeah, maybe I am. But Quinn Ewers was tied for the highest graded quarterback recruit of all time with Vince Young. You know what that means? Higher than Trevor, higher than Fields. Those were some of the highest graded quarterback prospects we have ever seen. You know who was ahead of him? Quinn Ewers, who's currently at Texas, who went to Ohio State and handed the ball off, and then he said, okay, I'm going to leave. That's basically what happened. But he's going to be a sophomore this year at Texas, or a redshirt freshman, whichever. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he redshirted, but that doesn't matter. Quinn Ewers is just unbelievably talented, man. When you watch him play, and I'm going to do it because apparently the only thing I do is compare people to Hall of Famers, he has Patrick Mahomes' arm. He has that type of arm. You see the arm angles. You see how effortlessly he throws the football. Like, you just see him and think, wow, that is literally Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think he has the mobility of Patrick Mahomes, which is why if he does hit that ceiling, I don't think he's ever going to be better than Patrick Mahomes because he just doesn't have the athleticism Mahomes does. But he does have his arm talent. And his arm talent alone makes him a superstar because Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. So that's basically it. Listen, he's never played it down in college football. I understand that. But this year, he's going to be a stud. And I think he should be heavily favored. Let me rephrase that. He should be one of the favorites to win the Heisman next year because he's playing in a conference that's a mess. Oklahoma dismantled. Baylor's the only team in their way. Iowa State, give me a break. West Virginia, give me a break. Like, come on. Who's going to stop this team? Who's going to stop Quinn Ewers, who has arm talent-wise, best in college football?
Probably, yeah.
Arm talent-wise, best in college football.
DJ Uyunglele might have a case, but yeah, he's up there.
He has a case. That's fair. But when it comes to arm talent, Quinn Ewers is most likely at the top. You combine that with a guy who was the best freshman wide receiver in the country last year, Xavier Worthy, who had 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, and you combine it with one of the better running back prospects we've ever seen, Bijan Robinson, who's, by the way, a stud. And then they got 2 5-star offensive linemen. I guarantee you one of them will be very good because it's unlikely that both of them miss. I mean, who's going to stop him, man? He's going to be a superstar this year. And we've seen guys like Baker and Kyle just tear apart the Big 12 because the defenses are so bad. Is it crazy to say Ewers could do the same thing?
I love that. I love Quinn Ewers, man. And this is a projection, obviously. This is taking a huge swing. But, man, when you're tied for the highest-rated quarterback recruit this century with Vince Young, yeah, I would do that. Over Trevor Lawrence, over Justin Fields, like you mentioned.
Yes, over all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Number 7, the Giants via the Chicago Bears. Finally, a 2022 guy is going in this mock draft. The first 6 picks for all.
We've had 2 2024 guys and not a single guy this year.
Yeah, we took a freaking guy who handed the ball off 3 times over any 2022 guys. That doesn't. All right, so let's get to the guy. All right, Aidan Hutchinson. We all love him. We talk about him all the time. He goes number 1 overall in every one of our mock drafts. This draft is not nearly as good for right now as the next 2. Aidan Hutchinson, I think is a slam dunk pick for the Giants, who that he's great. Like so many of these picks that we're talking about, most of them they're great. The only one is Quinn Ewers, but we are all, I think, on board like saying this guy could be freaking special. But Aidan Hutchinson, like you saw what he was last year. He was a dominant football player. This guy is absolutely ridiculously intensely committed to being the best player possible. I've heard stories where he doesn't eat gluten. He doesn't eat tomatoes because they're inflammatory. This guy does not have a cheat meal ever. He just wants to be the best football player possible. So, intangibles is a thing that gets overrated. He's always a great leader and all that. That gets a little bit overrated sometimes. But with him, it really is like this guy is not going to fail. Like he might not be an amazing edge defender, but he's definitely not going to be bad because he's just not going to fail in the NFL. And I do think he's a number 1 prospect in 2022. So for the Giants who need an edge defender at 7th overall, is a good value for them.
All right, so 8th we got the Falcons. This was a pick we actually another 2022 guy. Yeah, that's what the year is, right? 2022 guy. Another guy we got here. We thought for a while this might actually be the pick because we didn't know that safety would necessarily go in the top 5. I'm starting to feel like Kyle Hamilton, although he has mocked the Falcons, will actually be a top 4 pick in this draft. I think. I just think the more that teams have looked at the 22 draft class, the more they've examined it closely. They've just kind of been like, yeah, like it's bad, and this guy is like. Clearly a generational safety prospect, as we talked about in our video earlier this week. And you kind of have to bet on the high floor. And Atlanta obviously needs a lot of pieces in that defense. To me, there's not a quarterback left on this board here that I'm like trying to force, even though I do think that is a direction they will need to go in at some point. So I think they'll be happy to grab the top player, I think, left on the board at this point in the best safety since Sean Taylor.
Love that. All right, so recapping the first 8 picks of this all-college mock draft. Number 1, Jaguars, Jackson Smith-Njigba. 2, Lions, Caleb Williams. 3, Texans, C.J. Stroud. 4, Jets, Will Anderson Jr. 5, Giants, Bryce Young. 6, Panthers, Quinn Ewers. 7, Giants, Aidan Hutchinson. 8, Falcons, Kyle Hamilton. This is the best draft I've ever seen in my entire life. All right, number 9 overall. Donnie, you got the Broncos. Who are you going with?
Once again, just going to continue to ride on the drafting 2022 guys now. We're going to go with the other edge defender, Kayvon Thibodeau. This is just your prototypical toursy, athletic edge rusher. You guys already know a lot about him, so I guess I just don't need to explain much about him. We've done a couple of videos on him now. He's just your prototypical freaky edge rusher who just needs some development, but he's still easily a top 10 player in this scenario, I would say.
Number 10, Jets are up. Sorry for all the Jets fans out there who want a lot of offense because I took an edge player already. Now we're going to go corner. We're going to take Derek Stingley Jr. at pick 10. Corner's in need. This guy is gifted beyond. We're going to see the combine. It's going to be an all-time combine from him. As for the cornerback position, he is going to blow up that event, and I think it's going to eventually get most teams on board with him as corner one. I know it's been a while since he's played his best football, but betting on that high upside is worth it in a league where a lot of teams that are making leaps and bounds in terms of becoming something better. We see the Bengals go from being a bad team to a good team. It's because they brought in premium talent at premium positions. Derek Stingley's a guy at a premium position that could be someday a top 5 cornerback consistently, which is not easy to find. And obviously you have an opportunity here. You take it. And I hope that teams will see that and actually treat him as a top prospect that he deserves to be in this year's draft. And then I'm up again with the Commanders. No quarterback here. This is tough. You could take a swing on like a DJ Uiagalelei. Can't say his name. And just like hope, but he didn't have a good year last year. I'm not all on board on that. Spencer Rattler, I still need to see more. Matt Corral, not in my mind here at this point.
Just gonna remind you guys right now, there's no quarterbacks from this draft, so yeah, don't.
Yeah. So I want to go receiver. And I think there's a discussion here for a few guys. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, I think, is a pretty high floor player. Jordan Addison, I think, after the catch is a very interesting player. Can kick return too. I ended up going with Kayshon Boutte because I think just physically, the guy, ran a 4.3 out of high school. He's not humongous, but he's got a 6 foot, 190 pound, frame at the moment. He's probably going to gain more weight. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up to 200 pounds. Hasn't produced yet the way I'd like him to in college. It's a little concerning, honestly, but this is betting on the guy physically. If I take a Jordan Addison here, I think, you at the very least will have a very good wide receiver too. I think Boutte has a chance to be a dominant receiver at the next level. Haven't seen that yet in college. I'd be a little risky with what we've seen in college taking him this high, but I do think that ceiling is there. And I think Washington needs to be looking for, you should always be looking for more receiver talent. They haven't had much outside of McLaurin, and I'd like to get more in that room.
Yeah, actually, fun fact about Kayshon Boutte, I'm pretty sure he had like 350 yards against Ole Miss, which is really absurd. Yeah, somewhere around there. It's just another issue with him is that he just can't stay healthy, which is really unfortunate. But also when Max Johnson is your quarterback, that's also another issue.
Yeah, but, LSU guys can't stay healthy, dude. It's
they
tough.
Can't.
We'll get into another guy, him Stingley, and we'll get into another guy soon. But number 12 Vikings here. I'm going to go with another 2022 guy, Tyler Linderbaum, who I think is a top 5 prospect in this draft. Vikings need help on the interior offensive line, especially at center. Garrett Bradbury is not very good. Tyler Linderbaum, who is just a superstar center. I understand, like, in this kind of draft, it might not be worth it to take a center this high, especially with how many players that are available in this draft. But you just know Tyler Linderbaum is going to be a stud. And, when you're projecting true freshmen and projecting true sophomores, like, you don't know. Like, a lot of times it's like, oh, this guy was a 5-star, number 1 overall recruit, but you never know with some guys. So Tyler Linderbaum, I know what he is. I know he's going to be a star. And I think it's worth it here for the Vikings who need help on the interior.
Yeah, Viking skull, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Browns at 13, thought about wide receiver here. I was thinking maybe Garrett Wilson. I was also thinking maybe Josh Downs, maybe Jordan Addison, because I feel like those were the top guys left. I ended up going with a D tackle who I just thought was better than all of them, and that's Jalen Carter out of Georgia, who was arguably the best defensive tackle on that team last year. I mean, he was certainly better than Jordan Davis, and then him and Devontae Wyatt. You guys know me. I love Jordan Davis slander. But Jalen Carter and Devontae Wyatt were, like, really, really good, and Jalen Carter had an argument to be better than him, which, for a sophomore, it's pretty impressive. So I'm going to take a shot on that high ceiling, and me and Max talked about him. Actually, I remember a conversation we had about him because he told me about him before I joined Boom or Bust, and he was freaking out to me about this guy. He was like, dude, you got to check him out. I was like, all right. And I checked him out, and I was like, oh, my God, he's absurd. Like, he could be the next big D tackle prospect since, like, Quinnen Williams. So.
Yeah.
He's absurd. So I'm taking a shot at that high ceiling, and we'll see how he does this year now that a bunch of people are leaving that team. Trayvon Walker is leaving, Jordan Davis, and Devontae Wyatt. So we'll see what happens when he's all on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jalen Carter's a sneak peek, might be a top 5 player on my board next year. Like, he is that freaky of a defensive tackle.
He's close. He's close. I don't know if he's in my top 5, but he's definitely close to it.
he moves differently than a lot of other defense tackles. He's going to be a fun watch next year. At 14 for the Ravens here, I'm going with Eli Ricks, the former cornerback at LSU, transferred to Alabama, which is a huge transfer. Alabama got one of many. They got Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back from Georgia Tech, too, is also a very good player. Eli Ricks, though, it's kind of alarming how similar his career path has been to Stingley, which freshman year, Eli Ricks might have been the best corner in the country as a true freshman. Like, that's how good he was. He was up there, just like Stingley was in his true freshman year. Sophomore year, kind of had a little bit of a dip because of injuries. So we'll see what he does in his junior year, but he's kind of had that on that career path. I don't think Eli Ricks is near the athlete Derek Stingley Jr. is. In fact, that might be his big negative coming out. Is I just don't think he's that great of an athlete, but he was a lockdown man corner at LSU, especially in his true freshman year. He showed signs as a sophomore, but again, is riddled with injuries. But he goes to Alabama now. I'm excited to see what he can do at Alabama, but I still think he's a top cornerback prospect. He's the number one corner, I think, in next year's draft.
For sure. He definitely is. Up next, Eagles at 15. I'm going to go with a corner as well because they desperately need one. And we're going back to another 2022 guy, which is shocking because it feels like we haven't really had many of those guys in this draft. It says something about this draft and the upcoming ones, which, hey, that could be a positive because, I mean, who knows how long we'll be doing this, but I'd imagine we're going to be doing 2023 content and look forward to it because that draft class is fun. Mm-hmm. That is a fun draft class. So back to pick 15, though, I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner, corner out of Cincinnati. We just did a video on him, so if you want to go check it out, shameless plug. Sauce is, I mean, he's really, really good. that's all I can really say. This is your man press corner where you're going to leave on an island, and he's going to do his thing. So, yeah, Sauce at 15, which leads me to the Eagles at 16. Another 2022 guy. Now, this one was closer, though. I knew I kind of wanted to go wide receiver here because I feel like the Eagles really need one because outside Devontae Smith, they don't have much. Mm-hmm. And I think the more weapons, the better. That's what I've learned about the NFL. So thought about Josh Downs, thought about Jordan Addison. I ended up going with Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. Not really much to say. I think he's the best separator in this year's draft class. And I think he's the best wide receiver in this draft class as well. So, yeah, Garrett Wilson to the Eagles at 16.
All right, so let's recap 9 through 16 real quick. Broncos take Kayvon Thibodeau. Jets take Derek Stingley Jr. Commanders take Kayshon Boutte. Vikings take Tyler Linderbaum. Browns take Jalen Carter. Ravens take Eli Ricks. Eagles take Sauce Gardner. And Eagles again take Garrett Wilson. All right, Chargers 17, Nick.
All right, so I've gotten a little weird here with these teams that need like specifically right tackles because obviously Rashawn Slater is locked down for the Chargers. Brian Bulaga just like hasn't played healthy for nearly a decade. So they need right tackle help still, which is kind of unfortunate for a team that invested so much in their O-line this year and finally kind of figured it out. They will need another tackle soon. So I'm gonna end up on Charles Cross here. There was a discussion I had in my head between him and Evan Neal, and I know I've made it very clear that my number one tackle in this draft is Charles Cross. But when I think about normally drafting, when I eventually write another mock draft for the site, with the Jets at 4, it's a discussion for teams, I think, who need a right tackles because it's so close in my head, whether you want an Evan Neal or Charles Cross, just because Cross has been a left tackle for his whole career. And Evan Neal obviously played probably his best football on the right side. It's a small thing, but the specific thing that would change what I would do between these two teams is the Jets, I think, are very important. They need to do zone blocking. They need to run the ball. That's the way that system works. In that situation, I think Evan Neal makes a lot more sense. In this situation, you are going to be throwing the ball. You have Justin Herbert. You have Keenan Allen. You have weapons. You have a good pass-protecting left tackle on the other side. I want, even if he's moving to the right side, a good pass protector on the opposite side. And to me, the best one here is Charles Cross, so we're going to take him at 17 and bookend Justin Herbert for the next, however many years he's there, forever, hopefully.
I love that. All right, 18 Saints. This is going to be a hot take. I know a lot of people are going to like this. Sam Howell, I'm taking the quarterback of UNC. Listen, I know taking any 2022 quarterback I know is a hot take in this type of mock draft, but I do love Sam Howell, dude. And I think he's got a pretty decently high floor, and he's got a pretty decently high ceiling too. So he's a risk. I understand he's a risk, but that cannon of an arm, that rushing ability that he has, He's played really well for 3 years. I think Sam Howell is clearly QB1 in this draft, in my opinion. I know you two disagree, which is fine. I mean, this is the type of draft where you can have as many disagreements as you want. But I like Sam Howell enough that I'm willing to take a shot here at 18 with the Saints.
Honestly, I think I might take Tyler Van Dyke over any quarterback in this draft.
Really? Interesting.
I think I might. I really like Tyler Van Dyke, but yeah, we'll see if he's at the end of this mock draft. But once again, Eagles at 19. It feels like I'm just going to continue to take 2022 guys because I feel like this is the range in this particular mock draft where they would go. I'm going to go with, in my opinion, one of the best coverage linebackers I've seen in a long time, Nakobe Dean, out of Georgia. Once again, I've talked a lot about him because I think very highly of him. I think he's a top 10, maybe top 8 player in this draft, and I think he's the best linebacker in this draft. But I do think it's closer than I originally thought because I am starting to like Devin White a lot. But I think Nakobe Dean, for me, is the clear linebacker 1 in this draft. And honestly, next 3 years, he's probably the best linebacker in next year's draft and the year after that. I mean, I think he's better than Noah Sewell.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned like how it's just run on 2022 guys. I think it's because like the 2023, 2024 guys, like you're so much projection there. Whereas like the top guys, like we know how good they are and we took them at the top, but now you're getting into kind of the thick of it and you're like, all right, I'm gonna take the safe guy here. Like I don't want to take this guy who played 100 snaps as a true freshman, even though he's a top number 1 recruit or whatever. Number 20, Steelers. Another 2022 guy, like I just said, Evan Neal, tackle for Alabama. Steelers desperately need offensive line help. The quarterbacks, we had a run on quarterbacks at the top. And then I'm like, yeah, there's a lot. I just don't know, man. I don't know if I would take Spencer Rattler here. I don't know about that. So I'm taking Evan Neal, who, with Najee Harris, are going to be running the ball a lot. Evan Neal's going to be mauling people in that run game. He's familiar with Najee Harris, obviously. And I think the Steelers, this is a slam dunk pick for the Steelers who desperately need offensive line help.
Okay, so 21, the Patriots. Going back with another DC area guy. Brian Breesy, defensive tackle from Clemson, it looked like a couple years ago, was maybe going to be a top 5 pick in this draft. I guess there's still a possibility that does happen in the upcoming next year, 2023. But he's had some injuries, hasn't quite played the way that I think people have wanted to see from at least this past season. There's a chance for him to bounce back, but there's a lot of upside in him being, the prospect he was coming out of high school, going into the NFL. And a Clemson defense has produced a lot of interior defensive line talent. He is next in line for that. And the Patriots, I know they did just get Christian Barmore. They've been kind of rotating a lot of different guys at that position. They would love to get another, quite frankly, stud next to Barmore that would form an unreal pair on the interior if they had him and Breesy.
Yeah, that would be absurd.
That was my Cowboys pick. I was so mad when he took him.
Yeah, I'd be like that sometimes. Alrighty, Raiders at 22. There isn't really a guy they need offensive line. I think we all know this. And there isn't really a guy in the next upcoming years that I think is better than this guy. So I'm just going to take Akeem Ekwonu, the tackle from NC State. Just a mauler in the run game. Tevin Jenkins on steroids. That's basically what he is. So you get a mauler in the run game with Josh Jacobs. You have the Outland Trophy winner, Alex Leatherwood on that offensive line too. I mean, yeah.
You could have had the Outland Trophy winner this year with Jordan Davis, Donnie.
Yeah. That's the last thing everybody wants to see. Actually, no, I want to see that just so I can laugh at them. Yeah. But no, I have the Cardinals now at 23, and everyone's just gonna call me. I don't know what you're gonna call me, but you're gonna call me something because I'm taking Kyle Elam, who's my absolute draft crush, and I would do a lot of bad things for this guy to be a Cardinal in the upcoming draft. And I think he very well could be. I mean, we'll see, like I said, how the medicals are. But it seems like Sauce is getting a lot of hype right now. Obviously, Steinway. And I think Trent McDuffie's been getting more hype recently than Kyrie Elam. So, yeah, Kyrie Elam, please be a Cardinal.
All right, so number 24 here with the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going scorched earth scenario here. I'm taking for the Cowboys. I'm taking Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. And looking back on it now, like there's a serious debate with another tight end that will go in this mock draft. Just a little tease right there. But Michael Mayer, man, is phenomenal. Like he was a 5-star recruit, which you never really see for tight ends. Was a really good outside to receiver for them. Like this guy, in my opinion, is the best tight end prospect I mean, it's tough to say like since Kyle Pitts because it's only 2 years.
Yes, I was about to say it's hard to call any tight end for most likely a long time generational because Kyle Pitts did exist.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts existed, but like he's probably next after Kyle Pitts, and then maybe the 2024 draft. There's another guy who, spoiler alert, will coming up soon that it could take over that throne from him. But Michael Mayer has such a good tight end for Notre Dame, and at 24 here to the Cowboys, I think this is really good value for them, and they don't really need a tight end, but like they could just score 100 points a game if they get Michael Mayer.
Why not, man? Like why not?
Why not? So let's go to let's just recap the picks real quick. 17-24, Chargers Charles Cross, Saints Sam Howell, Eagles Nakobe Dean, Steelers Evan Neal, Patriots Brian Brissy, Raiders Ikem Ekwonu, Cardinals Kyer Elam, and the Cowboys took Michael Mayer. So the Bills up at 25, Nick.
So this wasn't a need per se. I think, maybe they'd be looking for another tackle. I think Spencer Brown actually played kind of well this year, which shocked me because I really did not like Spencer Brown coming out. But the Bills could be looking for more tackle help. And Peter Skoronski, who might not be a tackle, he might be a guard. He could play center. He could do anything. He's a little undersized. And the Bills could use interior help too, so you can move this guy inside. Ends up being the pick here at 25. He's, for now, the top offensive lineman, I think, on the board going into 2023. A guy who's played multiple years in Northwestern. He's played well every year, and I think projects right now as a safe bet as an offensive lineman next year.
Yeah, I agree. Titans at 26, and this is the other tight end that may have an argument for being better than Michael Mayer, and honestly has an argument to be ranked higher ahead of him in this scenario because he's younger, and that is Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, who was sick this year. He was sick. I mean, he was the best tight end in college football this year as a true freshman in the SEC. And let's just say Stetson Bennett, he's not very good. But Brock Bowers is very good. When you watch him, he's Travis Kelce. Like, that's what you are going to see. You watch him, you see maybe not a freak athlete like a Kittle or a Pitts or a Waller, but you see, like, just unreal route running. The possession catching is absurd. His hands are absurd. Like, he's going to be sick in the NFL. And once 2024 rolls around, he could be – is it crazy to say he could be a top 15 pick at tight end?
I think it might be a top 10 pick, honestly. I like
we could have a couple.
Yeah. It just depends. That's the thing about this draft. Like, it just kind of depends. Like, we might go back on this like a year or two later and like, wow, we didn't talk about this guy or this guy. And it's like just they haven't really been like as good as in past years. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, in a year or so, I'm going to go back to this video and see what it's like because it's going to be interesting.
It's tough because most true freshmen, man, they barely play. So like it's really only true freshmen that play besides Quinn Ewers.
Well, Quinn was at 7 overall or 6 overall. People are going to look at me like I'm a psycho, but trust me, he's worth it.
You might look like a genius in a couple of years. Dude, honestly, going back, Michael Mayer over Brock Bowers might regret that a little bit. But good pick, Donnie. 27, the Buccaneers. I'm going to go with Jordan Addison, the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. And I know Ali Marpet just retired. They need help on the interior offensive line. Jordan Addison, yeah, right. He won the Biletnikoff Award, was Kenny Pickett's favorite target at Pitt. We'll see what Keaton Slovis can do with him at Pitt now that he's there. But Jordan Addison is really, really good. He's going to be probably my wide receiver 2 in next year's draft behind Jackson Smith-Njigba. There's a case for Josh Downs as well. But I think Jordan Addison, with how good he was last year, I mean, he did win the award for best receiver in college football, which, I mean, I don't know if I would have given it to him, but like he did win that award. He's a Biletnikoff winner. So that says a lot when a Biletnikoff winner is going back to school. So Jordan Addison, 27 here in the Buccaneers, who could use some receivers, especially if Chris Godwin leaves.
28 Packers. I might regret not going receiver here, but Devin Lloyd for me is he's my 11th play on the board. So at this point, I just feel like the value is great. I've never liked mocking linebackers. I had a similar discussion about taking to the Packers anyway, linebackers over the past 2 years. Similar discussion with Nakobe Dean a few weeks back when I took him at 30 or whatever it was. Like, oh, this guy's too good in a normal draft to be here. Devin Lloyd, in my opinion, is too good to be here. And the Packers do need linebacker help. Lloyd, I think, has the ability to rotate positionally, play anything. I think he can even do some edge for you. And at 3-4, they probably would play him outside a tiny bit. But his ability to dominate the trenches as well as just be, more mobile than most guys his size, playing outside of the box is impressive. And Green Bay would love to have that high upside talent in the middle of their defense.
Yeah, fair. Dolphins at 29. Should they go offensive lineman? Probably. Is there one I would really take right here? Like in this scenario? Not too sure because we don't. I mean, maybe the only person I really thought about was Jarrett Patterson, but probably not. So I also thought about Connor Colby, but I'm not going to do that because it just feels like it's way too soon. Even though I thought he was very good as a freshman for Iowa, but I'm going to go with Josh Downs, the wide receiver from North Carolina. I've actually watched some of this guy's tape. Like, I've actually focused on him with an actual tape review before. And my only issue with him is just he didn't really run a lot of deep routes at North Carolina, which you think is really interesting because Sam Howell has one of the best deep balls in college football. So you would think, hey, maybe they put him on more of those routes, but they just didn't. But outside of that, I mean, he's sick. Josh Downs is sick. So I'm going to take him here on a team that, yeah, they could use another weapon because Devontae Parker's whatever, Preston Williams sucks, and Jalen Waddle is obviously a superstar. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. Chiefs here at 30, who I think also could use some receivers. And I'm going to go with Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver from Texas, who could really explode. Like, as a true freshman last year with Texas, who didn't have a great quarterback situation, he was really, really good. 6'2", 160 pounds. So this guy is really light, man. Like, this is like Devontae Smith light.
He'll gain weight.
Yeah, who's only a true freshman, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, he was such a good, reliable receiver as a true freshman. They really relied on him last year at Texas. I think him with Bijan Robinson and Quinn Ewers, like, that is a scary trio next year for Texas. It could make a lot of noise next year. So Xavier Worthy, 2024 guy, but a guy who I was very impressed by this year as a true freshman.
31's the Bengals, coming off a tough Super Bowl loss. I really wanted to fit in Matt Corral here, but we I got all the teams with quarterbacks, so it just didn't happen. I'm sorry. I apologize to all to the huge Matt Corral fan base that is out there that I know exists. I'm going to take Trent
Not
McDuffie
on TikTok.
here. Not on TikTok, right? Yeah, you always have to remind us about what's going on with TikTok because they really do have some.
Their opinion is obviously way more important than anyone else's.
Obviously. Yes, I mean that is how teams actually form their draft boards.
Yes,
they watch Boomer Bust. They watch Boomer Bust TikTok. That's how they do it.
There's steals from picking spreads.
Yeah. They just steal rip it straight from his videos. There was not an offensive lineman here that I really wanted. So McDuffie was the corner available. Trent McDuffie, for some people, top 10 player now. I think has a lot of things we've seen from previous Washington corners that translates. High motor at the corner position. Not a lot of guys you can say that about, but he's super physical. Will get involved in the run game. Good zone player. Walls off receivers well. Can play up to the size of bigger receivers, in my opinion, and should go top half of this upcoming draft. And obviously getting him at 31 just adds to the corner talent that the Bengals had enough of last year to make it to the Super Bowl, but it could be better, I think.
Yep. Number 32, the Lions via the Rams. So I wanted to get a receiver. They got Caleb Williams, their quarterback. So I wanted to get a receiver who was also a USC product. He never played with Caleb Williams, obviously. But Drake London, the wide receiver from USC, who I thought was really good value for him. I love the Trent McDuffie pick as well. Like, those are two top 10 to 12 players on my board. And, we know what Drake London is. Again, like, this is just one other case of just, like, I'm not projecting a true freshman or anything like that. Drake London, we just know is this great possession receiver. And, I mean, it's funny now you think about it. Like, the Lions, if this happens, could have, their entire passing game centered around 3 USC products in Amon-Ra St. Brown, Caleb Williams, and Drake London.
Hilarious.
So you have an entire Trojan trio there in Detroit. But Drake London, I think at 32, you know what you're getting. And the
rumored.
Lions,
sorry, I would hate to cut you off, but
yeah.
a little bombshell here. And this is not PJ telling me this, but rumored.
Mm-hmm.
Rumored to be in discussions for the pick at 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait. Are you talking about
London?
Yeah, Drake London. Yeah.
Wow. That would be. Oh man, that would be incredible. Oh wow. Okay, so 32, obviously clear value there for Dan Campbell. That would be insane. But yeah, Drake London to the Lions here at 32. So. That's what we got, man. This is I don't know.
That might somehow be worse than Malik Willis if that's true.
This video might be one of my favorite videos we've ever done here at Boom or Bust.
This is a great video.
This is a great
awesome.
video. And the best part about this video is like in 2 years, someone's gonna go back to it and be like, "You guys are freaking idiots for not having this guy."
We're
like,
going to be, but that's okay.
yeah. 2024 draft.
Watch Quinn Ewers just stink.
Oh yeah, then we're done. We're screwed.
Yeah. No,
But-
I'm done. I'm done.
We all defended you, so you know.
All the
yeah.
NFL teams will stop using your TikToks for information.
Yeah. Unreliable source, man. We have to stop listening to this 19-year-old.
Yeah, this is all we got. Listen, this is what we got in the 2023-2024 draft. I know a lot of you who, aren't as big of fans of the 2022 draft, and, we probably are too. And it's just like, who's next? Like, if people always want to know, like, oh, what's the next? Because people always say, like, oh, don't take a quarterback in this year's draft because next year's draft is really good at quarterback. But nobody really talks about the next quarterbacks. They're always like, no, next year's better. And they never really get into it. Here it is right here. Here's all the players you should know. In our opinion, for 2023 and 2024. So that's what we got. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Boom or Bust Draft. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, whatever. And please follow us at Pick and Spreads, at Nickel Sports, at Chat_Maxwick for more. So for Donny Clemons and Nick Merriam, I'm Max Chadwick. Have a great night.